Hello and many thanks for joining us today, the 5th of May 2022, for another edition of the Vendor Corner on UHTv Television Naija. And we are presently at the Wedral by MCC Junction, where that's where we'll be doing the review this morning. I am your host, Akobidima. Let's get to the table with the local tabloids here, and we're starting with the Nigerian horn. The Nigerian horn here, where the governor, he has a big caption here, the Nigerian horn, and it has a bold caption here. Uzodimma to APC aspirants, I will not endorse anyone to buy your, go buy your forms. I will not endorse anyone, go buy your forms. Uzodimma to APC aspirants. Oya congratulates Christ Embassy on its message of Christ's imminence. Gruesome murder of 2 soldiers in Imo, Carlos, the speaker of Nwachukwu. Another one here says, Okigwe North Federal Constituency seat 2023 for Onimo, not negotiable. Emezium, Okigwe North Federal Constituency seat 2023 for Onimo, not negotiable. Chief Olumba, the governor here seemed to be saying that he will not endorse any candidate. You know, when you now look at what is happening in the APC in the state, where it does seem that the aspirants are not coming forth. You know, it's like they are in this kind of a watching game, trying to know who the governor is supporting, so that they don't waste their money unnecessarily. Because if you judge it from what happened at the national convention of the APC, where consensus prevailed, and the governors came home, also making it look as if they've been mandated to also do consensus in their various states. So don't you think what the governor may not be meaning what he's saying here, going by how the people are perceiving the development?
Well, if the aspirants have decided to adopt a kind of sit-down-the-look approach, believing that it will be the decision of the governor to decide who goes and who does not run, it makes you understand that internal democracy is lacking. Because when you have a party, you have people with hopes and aspirations, coming to belong because of the ideology, and they hope, to run for an office one day. So if there is any consensus idea, I am sure it's going to lead to what had destroyed PDP in 2015 because of lack of internal democracy. People were not allowed, to kind of vote and be voted for in their primaries, which made many of them leave, juggernauts leave to form APC. In PDP imploded. That's why we are having APC today. And the same thing is about happening. History is about repeating itself.
But if you go by what happened, during the state congress of the APC, when the state chairman, nobody come forth for the state chairmanship except the man who was endorsed by the governor. Only him came and he picked the ticket and was sworn in. So don't you think that has sent shivers of fear down the spines of would-be aspirants?
Well, that could be, but then you remember that it's not going down well with a lot of people. It may lead to the death of APC. It may lead to APC losing in every election here in Imo State and at the national level. And of course, you know it now, it is not hidden that in a very sane country, a party like APC shouldn't be talking about election now because it had failed in all areas. We are talking in the area of economy, in the area of providing good governance, in the area of infrastructural development, especially in the area of insecurity. APC has failed. So if they decide to impose people there, good for other parties. But then, remember that the governor as an individual would equally be struggling to survive. Of course, because he's going for a second term. And with the new Electoral Act, which to some extent now will not allow such things to happen, then we'll be talking about genuine democracy. If Nigerians insist Like I said, I told you the other time that genuine democracy is about freedom of choice, which is a universal concept that is meaningless without free and fair elections, where the people can choose those who will govern them and dismiss those equally who have failed them. Underline, who have failed them.
Okay. All right, that's the much we take from the Horn newspaper. Let's look at the Trumpeter. The Trumpeter newspaper. The Trumpeter newspaper, and that's Imo Trumpeter. And it has 2023. Ikeduru in diaspora endorsed Walaka for Imo House of Assembly. Second missionary journey of Imo PDP House members, shaky. Imo PDP Congress war moves to Abuja for settlement as major leaders meet. Imo APC lawmakers get return ticket assurances from Governor Hope Uzodinma. Yes, okay. I think we've had this story. We've done this story. Let's look at okay, today's edition of the Horn. Today's edition of the Horn says Oshomole Akpabio Ifeanyi joined APC presidential race. Oshomole Akpabio Ifeanyi joined APC presidential race. IPOB denies killing army couple in Imo. 2023, Nwajoba may be next president Egemba. Excitement as work on Imo 305 centers nears completion. APC extends sale of nomination forms to May 10. Okay, so we have been confronted with what is trending now. The killing of those soldiers coming to Imo State for a marriage ceremony. In fact, somebody was telling me yesterday that love was murdered in Imo. And the army has accused the IPOB of being behind that gruesome killing. And IPOB has come out to deny it, saying people are using their name to perpetrate crime, and urging the military to unravel those who are behind that dastardly act. And then people are also panic because the social media message is circulating that the military will soon launch a reprisal operation in Imo, which they allegedly call Operation Blind Eye. We don't know how true that is, but judging from the kind of reprisals that have happened in the past over killings of soldiers and all that, everybody is apprehensive. So what do you make of the developments?
Believing that we are in democracy, that is a country governed by law, and what our president said in one of the papers, you read out, charging security operatives to fish out the killers of this couple. That is the way to go. Because when you talk about democracy, you talk about the rule of law, and then you talk about administration of justice, criminal justice administration. That is deals with offenders, the process of bringing offenders to justice. That is what the criminal justice administration deals with. So given that now, what it behoves on the security operatives to go out there, and you have steps in criminal justice administration. Firstly, you do what? Identify the suspect. Secondly, you arrest the suspect. Thirdly, you investigate the suspect. Fourthly, you prosecute. And then if found guilty by the judiciary, by the court, you punish the suspect. So you don't just clamp down on an entire area or state, without first of all identifying, arresting and getting these people who done it. Because we have incidents too occurring in the northeast, northwest. Some of the papers I watched there with the killings in Chibok. And then you remember the NDA attack by bandits too.
The military base was overrun somewhere in Maiduguri.
Of course, and nobody clamped down the entire Maiduguri or the environment, society. Go after the bandits. Go after the unknown gunmen, so that people will not believe it, that this is the handiwork of a fifth columnist, who is out to blackmail an entire region, entire state, in order to clamp down on the place.
To just oppose the two questions of the second missionary journey of Imo PDP House members and the assurances by the governor on the APC House members of automatic ticket, do you think the PDP members who stood by the party when others were defecting I mean, shouldn't they have the right to first refusal, as they call it? And then the APC lawmakers, do you think they've performed enough? I mean, they performed so good enough to have automatic ticket?
Like we agreed earlier on, when you're talking about party politics, you are talking about aspirations, hopes, and interests of everybody who belongs to that party, who believes in the ideology. That's why people gather together. So if you're talking about endorsement or these people having automatic, it doesn't work in a genuine democracy. And that's what is killing party politics in Nigeria here. You remember we said it made reference to PDP and this implosion in 2015. So let every candidate, let your performance market you. If you had performed well, go home to your constituents and tell them they know you already. They are the ones to say whether you go or not party leadership or the governor. It negates the doctrine, principles of genuine democracy.
All right, that's the trumpeter for today. Let's take the statesman. Yeah, the statesman. The statesman newspaper for today. And the bold caption here says, 2 dead as explosion rocks oil company in Izombe. 2 dead as explosion rocks oil company in Izombe. It's your duty to take APC to enviable heights. Those are the matters of Owerri Zone. It's your duty to take APC to enviable heights. Those are the matters of Owerri Zone. Tourism Commissioner congratulates Christ Embassy on evangelism. 2023, Nwajuba may be next president. Egemba. Igbo youth tell P2B others reject VP slot. 2023 presidency reject VP slot. Igbo youth tell P2B others. Protests as PDP APC headquarters over zoning. Protests at PDP APC headquarters over zoning. It's dishonesty to say all is well with Nigeria, Obasanjo. It's dishonesty to say all is well with Nigeria. So 2 dead as explosion rocks oil company in Imo, in Izombe. Just a fortnight ago, we had an incident at Abezi in Egbema, where over 150 people were arrested, due to illegal petroleum refining and bunkering there. And we have another incident where 2 people were blown off. Atlanta, they went to plant the explosive in one of the oil companies operating in that area, and were, blown off. What do you make of it?
It's like being caught in their own web. In the first place, such acts stand to be condemned equally, blowing up oil facilities, because once you do it, the people who will suffer it are the indigenous of that place. The spillage and all those, pollution of environment and the ecology, destruction, devastation of the environment. So we condemn it in the first place. And then it also underscores the topicality of the fact that there's need for the federal government, for the authorities, to look into what goes on around there, especially in terms of bunkering. It is becoming one too many.
The other paper we looked at, the ex-IGP Okiro was blaming those criminal acts on the neglect and negligence of people of that area by the powers that be and the governments. Well,
they have their own part of the blame, that is the indigenous. But then you ask yourself, how are they faring too? In the midst of poverty. In the midst of poverty, there's nothing poverty cannot do. Poverty can drive a man into, doing things ordinarily he wouldn't like to do. So that is, I think that is the driving factor. And when they remember again that partly belongs to the kind of group of, how do you say it again? Good that lays a golden egg. But are they benefiting? They are not benefiting. So frustration could equally, raise questions, raise posers that will push the youth into doing such things. But when you give them quality leadership, when you provide the necessities of life, when you deliver the dividends of democracy, and then show them, that you care, especially in terms of what they suffer. When you talk about devastation of the ecology and all those things, given this now, gas flaring and all those things, you have to do something for them. You must have to make them understand that we appreciate you, that the oil, is real from your land. By doing what? Constant power supply, good roads, you remember Avu Road and all those things, pipe-borne water, good healthcare delivery system and all those things, which are lacking So it will keep pushing them to do things like this. If it's going to sabotage the government, they don't care. You remember the attention in the Niger Delta and how they were blowing up pipelines and until the federal government listened to them. At least the result yielded to Jonathan becoming president.
Let's take another paper. That's the statement as we have it today. Let's go to some national papers now. Let's look at the Vanguard. The Vanguard newspaper. APC Hawks pressure INEC to shift deadline for primaries. APC Hawks pressure INEC to shift deadline for primaries. With riders lobbied, failed to get buy-in of PDP chairman. Lobbied, failed to get buy-in of PDP chairman. INEC boss Yakubu Rebov's move. It's not going to happen. INEC. APC extends deadline for sale of forms. Holds congresses next week. Oshomole Ifeanyi Ababio Jigawa Governor Badaru Abubakar joins presidential race. Another deadly explosion rocks Imo oil facility. We've talked about this. Telcos demand 40% increase in voice SMS data tariff. Telcos demand a 40% increase in voice SMS data tariffs. NCC experts reacts. Okay. ASU strike. Protesting students shot Benin City. ASU strike. Protesting students shot Benin City. 2023. Abia needs serious rescue. Alex Oti. 2023. Abia needs serious rescue. Alex Oti. Let's go to the story that there's been pressure from APC on INEC to shift the election calendar, especially the deadline for primaries. Does it mean that the APC is not prepared for this election or what?
Not that they are not prepared. APC can never be prepared. You remember how it came to be. A gathering of strange fellows, disgruntled elements from different parties, political parties, coming together, to form an emergency alliance. That was how APC came to be. So APC will never be prepared.
Is that not the pattern of formation of parties?
Fixed measure, geared towards getting power, ousting Jonathan and acquiring power from PDP. It wasn't, kind of well arranged. So they will never be prepared at all times, given the strange backgrounds of everybody there, especially the party stalwarts.
INEC has resisted the move.
Well,
insisting on a calendar.
Of course, but you always will know and agree with me that INEC is not quite independent in today's Nigeria, the way things are and the way it stands. INEC is partly part and parcel of APC, honestly.
All right, we have an ASU strike. Protesting students shut down Benin City yesterday. It was massive in Benin City. Students were out on the streets. They blocked everywhere in protest to the ASU strike that is going on. Do you see this expanding to other parts of the country, and what does it portend?
If ASU decides to wake up now, fine and good, because most Nigerians have lost faith in ASU. Not NANS.
Yeah, NANS.
NANS, not ASU. NANS, I meant to say NANS, because nobody trusts them anymore. And if they can come out and make a statement, because it's about their progress, about their future, our own future too, our tomorrow people, they are that tomorrow people. Those tomorrow people we're talking about, the future of Nigeria depends on them today. And I like what Peter Obi said. Peter Obi, just a few days ago, linked insecurity to the failure of Nigeria's leaders, to invest in human building, human capital development. And you remember that any nation that fails to plan for its youth has already planned to fail. That's what is happening. Over the years, some people, those who saw it coming, were crying out, Northern leaders, you have been leading, you have been governing, ruling the country. Invest in their children, but they didn't hear. They preferred Almajiri system, which always saw to the children being given birth to and dumped in the streets, bows in hands. Those children today are the terrorists because they have no conscience. When you talk about conscience, talk about education.
This is not peculiar to the north, because even Obasanjo, when he was a president,
I give an example. Okay. I give an example. This is a general thing now. This is a general problem, and this is part of the reason why Nigeria is not progressing. This is part of the reason why we are not moving. This is part of the reason why you say youth are indulging in things like, antisocial vices like Yahoo, other things, being lazy, just staying at home. They are at home now doing nothing because you have kept them at home. And remember that an idle mind is the devil's workshop. Yes, some of them from poor parentage, poor family background, whose parents are not able to cater for during this time of crisis, during this time of forced sit at home by the strike. Remember, they have friends who may introduce them to Yahoo and other things. An idle mind is the devil's workshop.
From the Vanguard this morning, let's look at the Punch. The Punch newspaper is here. The Punch is here, and the screaming headlines here says multiple candidates threaten Southern presidency. Leaders 124 aspirants. Multiple candidates threaten Southern presidency. Leaders 124 aspirants. Southwest APC leaders organizing meetings with aspirants to canvass consensus. Pro-zoning protesters storm PDP APC secretariat, warn against crisis. Ifeanyi Babio declare Ekiti governor hasn't governed state well. PDP. Okay. Masop demands Kano's release ahead Buhari's Ebonyi visit. Masop demands Kano's release ahead Buhari's Ebonyi visit. Slain military couple. Buhari demands killer's arrest. IPOB denies complicity. Slain military couple. Buhari demands killer's arrest. IPOB denies complicity. Buhari receives Guterres. Says terrorism threat to global peace. Strike. ASU wants minister certificate withdrawn. Edo students protest. We intercepted 10.7 billion naira stolen crude oil. Others, the Navy, talking about that. So let's go to the issue of multiple candidates threatening the emergence of a Southern president. Now, the writer here says the West, they're having a meeting. I think they're having a meeting tomorrow at the residence of the Lagos State governor to talk about consensus in the Southwest. And Idosim Ohaneze too is organizing a meeting with Southeast aspirants to come up with consensus candidates for each of the parties. Do you see this happening?
Well, when you talk about the West organizing a meeting, you're talking about Tinubu and the state governor, organizing a kind of support for Tinubu. That is for them. But
so the vice president may not feel very free to participate.
When you look at it, the meeting is holding at the instance of the governor. So you know where they are heading. So that's by the way. And then for the vice president again, there has been a kind of barrage of attacks against the Igbo as a race, entire race, from pastors. Pastors in quotes, some, because no genuine pastor would come out, to a kind of label an entire race, demonize a race just because of politics. I remember a post I made on social media, giving this, because I'm an Igbo man, I feel hot too. When you come out to demonize my own race, I told them, please remember, the first people to be executed, armed robbers to be executed in Nigeria at the Bar Beach, we are Yorubas. Babatunde, Folorunsho, and this other one, what's the name again? Oyenusi. But it doesn't make every Yoruba man an armed robber. It doesn't make every Yoruba man an armed robber. So if there are like one was the one David Ibiyomi was referring to people not lacking in integrity. That's why he doesn't love this particular race. It doesn't portend well for him as a pastor, because genuine men of God always, will preach a word harmony. They will preach peace. They will preach love. So let us leave this kind of aspect of calumny out of this politics now. And then in the other area, in the Igbo, Southeast should equally come together with one voice, and speak too. And you can see that the number is swelling every day. In spite of people who are discredited, we want credible candidates. I'm not campaigning for any of them, but we know them, because we know that Nigeria stands on a tripod. Nigeria, according to Frederick Fawcett, you remember that in his book, Emeka, is an amalgam of people welded together in the interest and for the benefit of a European power. So if you want these people to stay together, if you insist, you know, you must be united, or even though in diversity and whatever, everybody should be carried along. It is high time an Igbo man is given the opportunity to govern, and he will do well. We have our sons outside there who are excelling.
Okay, another story here says that's ASU here calling for the withdrawal of the Edo State of the certificates of Wajuba. ASU wants minister certificate withdrawn. Wajuba and Igige. Wajuba and the senior minister Malami. No, not Malami. What's his name? Adamu. Yeah, Adamu. ASU is calling for the withdrawal of their certificates. You're a lawyer. Is it possible to withdraw their certificates?
No, rather on moral grounds. These men shouldn't be talking about coming out to contest for anything, especially now, because they have failed. In a developed Sena society, they will throw in the towel. If the environment, if the system doesn't allow you to excel, you throw in the towel. Students are at home. Lecturers are on strike. ASU is on strike. And Wajuba is the junior minister for education. Ngige is that of labor and others. How are you coming out to contest? And it angers the people that you are getting this form at the cost of 100 million naira. 100 million naira, my brother, I'm asking, is it a mean feat to produce 100 million naira now? And even that's
questions. Some questions are that for the years they have served as ministers, the cumulative of their salaries and even emolument, can it be up to 100 million?
That is what is, kind of, getting people annoyed, getting these students annoyed. That is what is heightening the frustration. They have been quiet. 100 million naira, and then by that step, you are sidetracking those who would have turned things around. When you talk about integrity, you are talking about a corruption-free person. We have such people, with such a content of character in our midst. They cannot afford 100 million. I am sure even Nelson Mandela, honestly.
It's okay. All right, that's the punch for today. And let's take the Nation. The Nation newspaper. The Nation says the big caption, Tinubu, many presidential aspirants, good for democracy. Tinubu, many presidential aspirants, good for democracy. With a rider, Ifeanyi Oshomole Akpabio declare PDP shuts door against 2 aspirants. Okay. Soludo drafts monarchs into battle against unknown gunmen. Don't criminalize ransom payments. NBA cautions National Assembly. 2 bombers killed in Imo oil firm explosion. 2 bombers killed in Imo oil firm's explosion. MTN, MAFAB to roll out 5G spectrum August 24. UN to mobilize $321 million to address humanitarian crisis in Nigeria. With a rider, it's stupid to kill in Allah's name, says Buhari. Okay, federal government, Lagos to earn $201 billion from Lekki Port, says minister. Okay, let's look at the story here. Said he hasn't trained any political child that could challenge him. He's now saying that the many presidential aspirants for the race of presidency is good for democracy. And remember that in his party, the APC, 70% of the aspirants are people that can actually be categorized or classified as his political sons.
Well, when you talk about politics, it's all about intrigues. So nobody knows what is really happening, whether some of these people are being sponsored, for a game to come, when it's going to be played. It is possible that people will in future now be throwing in the towel. I now stand for this person with my supporters, I stand for the other person. So somebody could be sponsoring this.
It will be a very costly game to play, considering the nomination form of 100 million.
They have the war chest. They have the war. Some of them have the war. I won't mention them. They have the war. That is what is provoking people in the midst of poverty. I saw one of the aspirants here, hopefuls, the kind of vehicles brought out. when it's not even election time, you begin to wonder, where did he get the money from? So, and you'll say you're fighting corruption when things like this are happening. So let's watch and see how it unfolds. It could be a game plan. Don't believe them. Don't trust them. Nigerian politicians.
Okay, that's The Nation newspaper, and I think with that paper we will come to the end of the program today. And I'm sure you have enjoyed the program as Chief Ifeanyi Thomas Olumba has actually done beautiful analysis here. So once again, I want to thank you, Chief Ifeanyi Thomas Olumba, for coming to the program. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thanks, Abdul. Thank you.
All right, dear viewer, we've come to the end of the program for today. I'm sure you have enjoyed watching the analysis as it went by. We'll be back tomorrow for another edition. Keep watching Universal Heritage Television Naija and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you'll be getting our updates. Thank you for watching. I am Obidi Marco, your host, and I say bye-bye.
Thank you.